June. Somebody in the back want to get the lights. We'll get started. Yeah, people are starting to ask a lot of questions, and I like that. I don't want to sit up here and be a talking head, just telling you what we're doing. I like to see questions. So I know you're still awake. And after lunch, if I see anybody snooze off, I'm going to be throwing this pointer at them. So anybody that's sitting down, somebody that's sleeping, be careful because my aim's not very good. Seriously, on leased land, I'm going to talk a little bit about leasing land on multi-species. That's kind of how we built our operation, was leasing other people's land. And I'm really excited about leased land. I tell you what, I like working with landowners. I really do. Is there a good economic return on leased land? Of course there is. I wouldn't be doing it. I wouldn't be a full-time rancher standing up here in front of you all today if it wasn't for leased land, period. So I want to cover some things and get you all thinking a little bit off the box. You got to think outside the box.
There is no box.
There is no box. I love that. There is no box. What if you got in your car and went home today and you started driving around the neighborhood and you saw somebody else, maybe it's your brother or your sister or a neighbor or a friend, they've got livestock. Have you ever thought about putting your livestock in with theirs? I challenge the Amish to do this a lot. And I got some to do it in Kentucky. And their profit almost doubled. Their quality of life skyrocketed. Two brothers put their cows together, and they rotated them around the farms. So the cows weren't on the other brother's farm, only half the time. So the other brother could take a vacation. They increased their stocking density, they had a bigger herd, longer recovery period. It's like they bought another farm and they're making more money, more calf. They can add more cattle to their herd now. Yes, get your hand up. Too close. All right, say something. Is that better? Can y'all hear better now? So there's lots of little paradigm. Young guy up here a while ago, he had 5 acres and 8 cows. He's overstocked. Because when he comes back around moving them, the grass is not recovered. That's eating your seed corn. Look around the neighborhood. Folks, I lived in this area where I did my whole life. I was 37 years old before I leased my first farm. I grew up in this area. I was born in northern Minnesota, by Duluth, on a dairy farm. Moved to Missouri when I was 7 years old. Been there ever since. I never looked at any of that land around there as a possibility of me leasing it. And now I'm like a hawk. I'm watching it all the time. If I see a farm for sale, I'm watching it. And I'll see who buys that farm. And I'll go in and talk to them. And I'll see if I can get them in my pickup truck. And I'll see if I can give them a farm tour just for an hour to explain that we're trying to improve the soil, heal the water cycle, raise healthy food without destroying the environment. We've only got one world, we can't destroy it. We're going to bring the wildlife back onto the farm. I'm going to build a pond for you and stock it for you. If you'll deduct the cost of the pond off the lease. You know, that's the kind of stuff that we do. This is powerful stuff, folks. If you can start adding a 10-acre farm or a 20, or even a 5, if you're that young guy that had 5 acres, if he can find another 5-acre farm, maybe he doesn't have to sell those 8 cows. Or maybe he doesn't have to sell half of them. Find out what your stocking rate is in your area. Go to the grazing specialist that's here. Hold up your hand. The guy, the grazing specialist. Is he in the room? He was. Jack Kyle, ask him what the stocking rate is for your area. You need to know that. We can run a lot of different species. All these, you gotta have one of those. You gotta have a goat that knows how to ride a foal. That dang goat, on one of my best farms, is owned by a wealthy doctor. He has a Cadillac Escalade. A black one. Beautiful. I went up to one morning, that stinking goat is standing right on up. And he's out riding his foal across. He doesn't know that goat's on him. And I just panicked. I hadn't had the farm but about 3 months. I'm like, what am I going to do? I got to get him off. And I went at that goat, and that stinking goat took off running, and he slid down the window, across the hood, and onto the gravel, and took off running. I'm like, oh my God. I went and got a rag, and I buffed it out as best I could. And he didn't scratch it, but God gave me more to do. We're selling the opportunity for a hunter to bag a deer. We can't sell the deer, but we can sell an opportunity. And that's $1,800 per gun for a chance to shoot at a deer. Okay? That's marketing energy, folks. It's marketing solar energy. Okay? We can't sell a deer. In Africa, the landowner owns the game. There is no season. They bought the farm, it's theirs. They can sell a wildebeest, they can sell a kudu, they can sell a leopard hunt, they can sell anything they have on that farm any time of the year they want. We have seasons and we have limits, but we can't sell that animal, we can sell an opportunity to pursue that animal. So with good grazing management, using livestock, we can really, it's exciting stuff. On our sheep farm last year, the biggest buck was killed. On our sheep farm, where we run the sheep at. People say, well, sheep destroy they overgraze. And I'm like, yeah, they will. And like anything, they'll overgraze it if you give them enough time. But boy, sheep can lay a lot of litter on the ground. You know why? Because they walk all the time. They're constantly walking. Cows, they graze. Sheep are more browsers. They'll browse. They're just constantly browsing. When you got 60, 100, or 200 of them out there browsing all the time, boy, they can lay a lot of material on the ground, which is, if you're trying to build soil, it's a good thing, yes.
For your sheep, do you just use that single electric line?
Nope. For sheep, do we use a single electric line? No. I'm going to show you what we use. We do not mob graze our sheep. And I'll tell you why in a minute. You're jumping ahead of my talk.
Okay, sorry.
You're going to find out. Diversity is king. It's never a single species. We want to harvest more solar energy. So we want the wildlife, we want the pigs, we want the sheep, we want the cows. We'd like to get into, maybe bringing in wildlife tours. You know what the biggest income is on the Desiree Ranch? The Desiree is the million-acre ranch that the Mormon Church owns in Utah. You know what the biggest income source is today? It's not cattle. Bird watching. You know what those bird watchers take with them when they leave that farm? Money. They leave money there. They don't take anything. They're not shooting elk. They're not degrading the farm in any way. They're just leaving all the money with you as a chance to look at birds. But you know why those birds are there? Because of Greg Simons. Greg Simons was the one that turned around the Desiree. The Desiree was losing money every single year. Greg Simons went in there and overhauled that place, and it's never been the same since. But he's the outside-the-box thinker. He looked at all that land and there was a lot of energy that wasn't being harvested. And one of them was birds. Well, he did a really neat thing. He's all about thinking all the time. And so what he did is he got up all his heifers. They had 5,000 heifers. Big herd of cattle. I think they were running around 10,000 head of cattle. He got up all of his heifers and put a big ad in all the papers around that area and told all the cattlemen they could come in and pick out whatever heifer they wanted out of his herd. And he set a price. It was at the very top of what the cattle were selling for in that area. And guess what they did? Guess which group they picked out? That great big ones. They took all the big ones. And those are the ones Greg didn't want. And then Greg sold the little ones, and he had exactly what he wanted to expand his herd with. Average. If you got a great big heifer out of your calf crop, eat her. Don't make her a cow. She's a freak of nature. She's a freak. If you keep that freak and breed her to a bull, you're going to have more freaks. And all of a sudden your cow size is doing this. Not this. Average. Greg Simons figured it out. He got top price, and they did all this picking for him. He didn't have to pick up the ones he did what they did. Isn't that pretty cool? That's thinking outside the box. This is in the springtime. They're lambing, and the way our sheep work is we've got 16 permanent paddocks. And they're all fenced with high tensile wire. There's 4 wires on every single side, and the paddocks range from 5 acres all the way up to 10. Okay? And so we don't do the strip grazing with the poly wire. People say, why don't you mob graze? And I said, because it goes against my quality of life. When we set up these sheep, I was still working in town. And I had landowners that would like to see a little bit more pressure on the weeds and the multiple rose bushes and the thorn trees. They don't like those. They don't like running over them on their four-wheeler with a flat tire. And I don't have a tractor, I don't have a brush hogger. I'm like, what can I put out there that'll eat these weeds and make me some money? Hair sheep. They love them. They absolutely love that kind of stuff. So they turn both of them into cattle. Sheep and cattle complement each other really well. The cattle are more grazers, they go after the grasses. The sheep are more foragers. They would a lot rather eat a weed than they would stalk the grass. We don't do any assistance with lambing, none. So when do we lamb? When we don't lamb in January, I'm sorry folks, that's not spring lamb. Everybody says, well, we got a spring lamb, that's February. I'm like, no. You gotta have a barn. Barn things will freeze to death. So we lamb in May when there's green grass available, and we don't go in the lambing pasture. Don't go in there. There's guard dogs in there. The guard dogs are going to take care of them. You don't need to be in there. All you're going to do is cause trouble. So when we move in during lambing season, I'll sneak over to the gate, open the gate, and I leave. I let them move on their own. Normally I'll go shake, and I mean they're charging. They're coming for that gate. You don't want to do that when you're lambing. What will happen is the new mothers, the ewe lambs. In other words, you got a ewe lamb. That's our first time that she's laying. You go in there and start going sheep, and you've got 150 babies on the ground. And that new mother comes charging through that gate. She ain't smart enough, or maybe she wasn't bonded onto her new lamb. Guess what you got? You got a dead lamb, or a bottom lamb. You've got an abandoned lamb. Don't do that. And if you go walking in there like you're going to do some good, you're not. You're going to scare off those new mothers. You're going to, the first year sheep, I'm like, I started finding these dead lambs around. They didn't look like anything wrong with them. It was me. I was killing them. I didn't know any better. We do not go into the lambing pasture. There they are, out in the wintertime on weeds. thick fleece. These are hair sheep. They're only raised for meat. There is no market for the hair. They're meat sheep. I like them better than I do goats. We used to run goats. The goats are harder to keep in, and it's in Missouri with our warm summers, and we get much rain, it's almost impossible to build a parasite resistant goat. The darn things will die. If you're not out there on top of it, those darn goats will die. These sheep, they don't die, not anymore. The first year they did. Yep. How many what? We keep about 100, 150 years. Oh, how long do they live? We've got ewes that are in the flock for as long as 9, 10 years. Watch them. When they start getting, here's what we use as our calling strategy. This is October. When I get home, we'll get the flock up, and I go through. Anything showing any kind of rib or bone, she's gone. She shouldn't be showing rib or bone. It's October. She's already weaned the lambs. They self-wean those lambs. Because when the lambs get heavy enough, they'll actually pick the ewe up with their head. And that's when she kicks them off. She won't let them suck. I wish cows were more mean or better at weaning or whatever. A ewe doesn't mess around. She just kicks them off. But if a ewe's not fat in October, November time period, she sure as heck isn't going to be fat in December. She's going to go the other way. So you might as well sell her and take that money, put it in your pocket, and buy another ewe lamb with it or something. Don't let her just die. Because that's what she's going to do on your farm. If she's thin in October, November, she's not going to make it. Get rid of her. You can't supplement it. Well, that's another thing. When they get thin in the summer, in the wintertime, you can't get them fat again. They're just going to keep losing weight. So get rid of them. I found a good way of doing that is don't name your sheep. If you got Molly out there, it's hard to get rid of Molly. Or Polly, yes.
So are you saying you got a sheep farm, like you don't go two species?
Yep, I'm getting ready to go through that. The cows and the pigs do go through these farms, just at different times. And Ian's been on me for, 7 years. Tell me that I need a floater. Flock and herd together. I'm like, Ian, I'm not going to do it. Because we have all these cattle drives up and down these roads. We got neighboring dogs, always barking right at the heels of our cattle. I've got fine guard dogs in there. They're going to kill those neighboring dogs. They'll kill them. They just grab them up by the neck and shake them and kill them. We're talking about neighbor relationships. If my guard dogs kill Fido, I'm not going to be walking these cows up and down these roads. I can guarantee you. It's not going to happen. The only way I can have a flirt is I got to figure out a way to separate the sheep from the cows on the day of the cattle. I don't have that figured out yet. The other thing, and he says, just booger it. Booger it. Put them together. I'm like, Ian? I said, and he said, the only way it'll work, but you got to sell the guard dogs. I'm like, Ian, I've got coyotes, I've got bobcats, I've got stray dogs, I've got foxes, we've got eagles, we've got stuff to swoop down and take our shit. And he goes, well, the stupid ones will get picked off, and the smart ones will only stay with the cattle. And he cannot have sheep in Africa, where he lives. They call them carryaways. In the middle of the night, they just come in and carry him away. We do not warm the sheep. Now look at this. This is the nastiest looking ugly you've ever seen in my life. Isn't she ugly? She went through a hard winter. She hasn't shed off very good. It's a Barbados. An old Barbados that I bought out of Texas years ago for $60. Guess what those lambs are worth? Well, today's market, they're worth $250 a piece. $30. They have twins almost every year once they get past 2 years of age. So you have more twins than you will singles. Folks, do you pay for a cow the first year you own it? No. Did y'all just hear those numbers? There's $500 worth of lambs right there on that stinking OU. She paid for herself. You made some money the first year. Here's the beauty of sheep. They give you twins. Don't tell anybody. Shh. You can build your numbers so much faster. So much faster. They don't eat as much. If one dies, it doesn't ruin your whole day. You've lost 150, 250 bucks. You haven't lost 3,000 like you do when you find a dead cow. There's a whole bunch of them sheep got to die to equal one cow. Okay? They're children friendly. When you work sheep, they're not going to hurt you. If they run over you, they might hurt your pride, but they're not going to hurt you. I've had them run over a 250-pound intern, knock him flat on his back, and he got up, his face is so red. He was so embarrassed that that little 70-pound wither just ate his lunch. It hit him going about 70 miles an hour. Okay? I can't emphasize this enough. It's the parasite resistance. That's huge. You all have exposure to a sheep up here, don't you? What was the guy's name who used to run the Damara? Have y'all heard of it? Damara. The D-A-M-A-R-A. There's a guy up in Canada that had a bunch of them. Oh, gosh. Maybe I'll get his name for the days up. And they're Damara. Beautiful hair sheep. Muscular build. And what he did to build the parasite resistance in them is he locked up, I forgot what the numbers were, it's quite a few, 40 or 50 ewes on an acre, and he took a water hose and made a mud puddle in the middle of that acre and intentionally put parasite load on. Perfect parasite conditions. Killed about 70% of them. But the ones that made it, that's what he built this flock out of. They're up here in Canada. We can't get them in the United States. They won't let us employ them. What was his name? He used to have a website. I will get with this group when I think about it, and y'all can forward it. You'll figure it out from there. Beautiful sheep. Parasite resistant. Didn't have to worm them. Folks, if you got to worm sheep, I'm sorry, but life's too short to worm sheep. You know how often a month comes around? How quickly it is? In the summertime, if you start worming them, you're going to have to worm them. If you don't, they're going to die. But if you have enough resistance in there, and you don't worm them, the sheep business is wonderful. It's wonderful. That's a Dorper crossed with a St. Croix. We found that the St. Croix is the most parasite resistant of any sheep that we can get in the United States. I started this with a flock of about 7. Then I got 3 rams, and I bought a whole bunch of just mixed up hair sheep. But these rams that I got, I took a fecal sample, took it to the vet out of these ram lambs. These are St. Croix ram lambs that have never been wormed. And she got on to me pretty hard about bringing those samples in. She goes, "Why did you waste my time? You wormed these sheep." I'm like, "I didn't worm them." Well, she said, "They don't have any worms." One of them was like 0.5%. The highest one was like 0.7. There was one 0%. That's the one I kept. And he's the sire of everything we've got. And then his sons, I've kept his sons. And we've just continually line bred from that. So we're continuously pushing that parasite resistance into these ewes. Okay? There's the garden gnomes. There they are graded. This is lance leaf ragweed. It's a nasty one. Cows won't touch it. Sheep will. So I've taken something that was a nuisance. That's Queen Anne's lace. They eat the flowers off all that stuff. That willow, we're going to clean it up. What's that?
Is his name Helmet Lang?
That's it. Who said that? That's it. Helmet Lang. Helmet Lang. Did y'all hear that?
No.
Helmet Lang. That's his name.
For the Demar sheep?
I don't know if he's even got him anymore, but he kind of dropped off the face of the map. I don't know what happened. I think he built that flock up to 3,000 or 4,000 head. You know what part of Canada he was in?
BC.
What?
BC.
BC? Okay. Helmet Lang. Well, if I lived in Canada, I'd be pursuing him. Whew. Those are really impressive looking sheep. Meat. My gosh, he had meat on those sheep. I mean, they were meaty. There's our new breed that we went to. I wouldn't own a Pyrenees if you gave it to me. Pyrenees guard dog. The reason I don't like Pyrenees anymore is all of ours got killed. The biggest predator of a guard dog is a car. About 3 years is the average lifespan of a Pyrenees dog. I've got dogs that are 7 years old now. They don't lay sheep. That breed you're looking at there is a 1/2 Maremma. M-A-R-E-M-M-A is how you pronounce that. Or spell it. M-A-R-E-M-M-A. 1/2 Maremma, a quarter Anatolian Shepherd, and a quarter Pyrenees. That's the breed you want. I'm serious. These darn things think they're a sheep. I've never found them when they're not with the sheep. And if you go into that paddock as a stranger, you're going to be looking for a treat. They're not going to bite you, but they're going to come up and they're going to think, you're going to think they're going to attack you. They're just barking their heads off at you, and they're spinning around you in circles. Guess where the sheep are? Behind you. Okay? That's the best guard dog I've ever found.
What type of shepherd?
Anatolian. Anatolian is spelled A-N-A-T-O-L-I-A-N. Anatolian. It's a short-haired breed. The Maremma comes from Italy, I believe it is.
Yep.
They're wonderful. I think the Maremma is the most important crossing. That 1/2 one. It's unbelievable. What I like about them is they don't get all the nasty old clogs all over. They shed off that and they're very clean. They're always picking burrs out of themselves, and they're only about a 70 to 100 pound dog. A darn Pyrenees, they'll get up to 130, 150. That's just a bigger dog you gotta feed. And they're not around your sheep, they're on your neighbor's porch.
Do you buy them?
Protecting your sheep. Huh?
Do you buy them trained? Or what?
I buy puppies. We sell trained guard dogs. We've got 12 guard dogs at all times being trained.
How much a dog
The dogs, how much are what?
do you sell your dogs?
A trained one, you're going to be looking at a year-old, trained to stay with the sheep and basically attack predators and not attack you. $1,300.
And on that dog, when you breed them, when they teach the pups how to do it?
The question was, will that dog teach the other pups how to do it? It's a crapshoot. I'm not in the business of breeding dogs, so I got a guy that is, and he's got brush calls in every paddock. And those brush calls are for the female dog to go into to whelp. And when those puppies are big enough to come out of the brush call, he grabs them at about 8 weeks. And that's when he weeds them out behind him. He's got the right deal going. I'm not selling. So I buy him as puppies, 8 weeks old, and then I sell them as trained year-old. Some of them I have to shoot. I do, or give away. If I get a vicious dog, it's happened 1 or 2 times. I've had a dog take down my sheep in front of me. And he wouldn't let me catch him, I had to shoot him. He was killing lambs in front of me. Just run up and grab the throat and rip him right out. I'd shoot him. I hated it. I actually cried when I had to shoot him because I loved that dog. Yep.
Yeah, I just want to flip back over to sheep for a second. We're talking about the parasite resistant with the hair sheep.
Yep.
Is it possible to build parasite resistance in wool sheep?
Is it possible to build parasite resistance in wool sheep? Possibly. My question is, why would you want wool sheep?
Oh, because we got people interested in the wool.
Okay, that's a good. I don't want wool sheep because I've got to get them up and crutch them. Before they land, if you don't crutch them, you'll have maggots, and they'll eat the butt out of the sheep. I don't have time for that. I'm not into the shearing. I don't have customers for wool either. But if I had a wool sheep, I would be looking at the ones that could survive without worming them. The first year, we bought a semi-load. We bought 800 sheep, me and another guy. The guy from Oklahoma, we dropped off 600, no, we bought 840, I'm sorry. 240 were dropped off in Missouri. He took 600 in Oklahoma. They came out of Texas. And for 2 weeks of finding dead sheep every day, I went to check my cat night. I hated to go out there. We'd done everything trying to keep these sheep from dying. We couldn't do it. And finally, the old guy said, "Greg, don't worry about it." I'm like, "What do you mean don't worry about it?" I said, "They're dying." He said, "When they get done dying, you'll be in the sheep business." He was right, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's bloody, it stinks, and it makes you feel bad to see one die. I hated it, but I don't have to go through that again. I wouldn't recommend it either.
How many dogs do you need for 50 sheep?
How many dogs do you need for 50 sheep? 1. If you want to do a really good job, you got really bad better control, 2. I'll tell you why you want 2. Heaven forbid something happens to them. You're stuck. Where are you going to go find a trained guard dog the next day? And you got to sleep for 2 weeks with nothing guarding your sheep. You want to do that. Donkeys, llamas, alpacas, you name it. I've heard everybody use it. And some of them may work. Let me tell you this much. I've sold a lot of guard dogs to people that had donkeys. One guy had 8 of them. He had 8 donkeys. I sold him 60 lambs. And I said, "You need a guard dog." No. He said, "These guard dogs, they hate a canine. They hate them." I'm like, "All right." 6 months later, I get this call 9 o'clock at night. "Great. You got a guard dog?" Like, "How many did they kill?" "Have you got a guard dog?" I said, "You tell me how many they killed." Well, so far they've killed 32. They did that in one night. You know how many guard dogs he could have bought for 32 dead sheep? Not only that, he terrified the rest of them so bad that they wouldn't breathe. So a sheep can't outrun, they can't kick, they can't butt a predator off. And they don't have fangs. They don't have fangs. They can't rip the throat out of the predator. So don't expect sheep to take care of themselves. They can't do it. It's not a matter of if or when. It's going to be, they're going to come. Sooner or later. The biggest cost of running sheep is the guard dog, feeding it. And we've taken that out of the equation now because we feed our animals meat that we get free from the arbitrary. And we freeze it. We have a freezer that is dedicated to meat. I'm talking bones, fat, livers, hearts, tongues, all that stuff that they don't want. We freeze it in 20 to 30 pound bags. And every 2 days we just thaw out a couple bags and throw it home. And we keep guard dog feed out there. Gravity flow. You'll see the feeder here in a minute. So in case we get busy and I don't get the meat to them, at least they're not. If a guard dog's roaming, why is he roaming? He's hungry. You haven't fed him. He's probably looking for something to eat.
Do they wander off if there's a female?
If not, if you fix them. The question is, do they wander off if you find a female and eat? They will. They're a male if they're intact. Fix them. Get them fixed. You don't want that thing out chasing females. If you got a female, you don't want a constant litter of pups that are bred by no telling what. Get her fixed. So 6 years per animal unit, you can get 1.8 lambs. Average, that's 11 lambs. That's pretty good return for a cow unit. Do 11 times 250. That's pretty good money, probably. There's some of the goats that we used to have. Grazing pigs. We used to raise breeding stock, and we just let them pig right out on the pasture. What we find out is when they disappeared, you didn't go looking for them. That's a Tamworth gilt. You don't go looking for a Tamworth gilt when she's pigging. They are the most docile animal on the farm until they pig, and then they are a brute. They will kill you. Yes?
Just getting back to sheep quickly, your ram lambs, are they separated?
Yes. The management on the ram lambs, you've got to take those ram lambs out when they're 16 weeks old, or they will breed. They are sexually mature at 16 weeks. It's 4 months. If you don't take those ram lambs out, guess what you've got? You've got a wreck. Because you're going to be lambing in the wintertime. And in our situation, those are dead lambs. We don't have a place to put them. We don't have a barn. I can't build a barn for 250 sheep. Can't do that. So we make darn sure we lamb May 1st when we moved it up. We're lambing April 1st now. We get out there in July and we take all the ram lambs out. Okay? Here's the beauty though. November 1st, that's when we turn our rams in. Okay? Those ram lambs those rams don't come out of that ewe flock until July. They're wintered with the ewes. The rams are. Why do you want to take them out? The ewes are already bred. Why would you take those rams out of those ewes? Doesn't make any sense. Now you got another group of sheep you got to deal with. The ewes are already bred. The rams aren't going to hurt a blooming thing. Yes?
So, but if you've got ewe lambs, they're likely to be being bred unless you're wanting them bred.
We breed all of our ewe lambs. Oh, darn right. Not all of them will breed the first year. But see, those ewe lambs, I'm glad you brought that up. They're 7 months old. Gestation is 5 months. When a ewe lamb turns 1 year of age, she can give you her first lamb crop. And you hope it's a single. You want one good single lamb. But our average is about 60% that first year. Because like you said, they're a ewe lamb, they're not sexually mature. We have found those ewe lambs don't breed later in the winter. It's because they're not getting enough nutrition to cycle. They're just grazing winter stockpile. Okay? Yep.
And after ewe lambs first crop, if they are a bit bony this time of the year, you can call them.
Darn right. Darn right. All the ewe lambs, all this year's lamb crop, we'll go through them, and if they don't look like a good individual that I want to put in my breeding program, they go with the cull ewes. Okay? We keep about 20 ram lambs a year, and we ban the rest of them. Okay? We can sell about 20 ram lambs a year. We sell all of our ewe lambs. And I've actually built a business now. I've built a lamb selling co-op. I've got like I've got 5 of the breeders that have my stock. And I sell their lambs for them through mine. As long as they're using my rams, Parasite Resistance, and they promise me they don't worm the lambs, I can sell them. If they worm them, I'm not interested. I don't want them. Because I'm going to tell my customer, if I sell this young man some ewe lambs, and they die the next summer with worms, he's going to say, Greg, what's up with these? I'm like, well, those are supposed to be parasite resistant. Well, I don't know that if the guy wormed them. Yes?
Just a quick question. You say you put the rams in the 1st of November?
Yes.
And then you leave them in until you take the ram lambs out?
Yes.
So they're not breeding the yolks while they're nursing, and they're
Nope.
not breeding those really young ewe lambs.
No. And I don't know why those, now that you say that, I've never thought about the young ewe lambs that didn't breed back, but they don't. They don't breed. I've never had in my big flock of ewes, I've never found a ewe that lambed out of season. Now see, when those ewes come in heat, there's a smell. Those ewes send out an estrus smell, and I mean, my gosh, the sheep business. When you have your first lamb, just mark it on your calendar, in about 17 to 20 days, you're done. There are no more lambs after that. I wish you could do that in the county. I mean, those rams get too busy, yes.
Just for logistics, what do you do with your rams when you pull them out of the flock?
What do I do with the rams when I pull them out of the flock? I'm fortunate that I have what I call the ram farm. I've got 2 wild guard dogs over there. I've never been able to catch them. And they're bonded onto that farm. That's where I bring them. So they've got those 2 wild dogs. And they roam in there from July. When I get home here in 2 weeks, November 1st, I've got to catch those rams. And we bring a ewe over there and put her in the crowd. She's the sacrificial lamb. And all the boys come to see the ewe. That's how we catch it.
Okay, question?
Yes.
So you're in a breeding stock business for sheep that you don't sell to a customer that's going to eat, you sell to somebody that's
We sell both. Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, what sacrifices have you made to make not totally the same breed to breed parasite resistance to our sheep, or what sacrifices have you made for carcass quality to get now?
What sacrifice and carcass quality have I had to make to get the parasite-resistant sheep? Yeah, they're not as meaty, and that's why I'm playing around a little bit. I'm glad you brought this up. I may have some pictures of them in here. I went with another breed in the last 3 years. Playing around with. It's called Florida Native. Have you heard of them? Well, you got to be careful where you get them. I've seen Florida Native that were the nastiest looking, skinniest, hairiest looking things you've ever seen in your life, to the most meatiest, thickest. They almost look like those Damara that are here in Canada. And that's what I've got. I've got 2 of those rams. And it seems like they're thicker and they're a little shorter legged. And they still have the parasite resistance. What I don't like about them is some of the ewes retain a little bit of a saddle. A little bit of the hair in the summertime. In other words, they don't sleep off perfectly. They'll have clumps on them. And they look bad. But it doesn't seem to affect their performance. They're thicker. They're thicker than what I've been raising. So they've only been out 2 years now. I haven't had any complaints from our customers. They seem to have the parasite resistance and better carcass quality. Now, having said that, we don't butcher a lamb. We get them up to 130 pounds. So we're butchering withers that are roughly 12 months all the way up to 18 months old. These things are big. Folks, it costs $80 to process a lamb in the United States. $80. And that doesn't matter if that lamb's 70 pounds or it's 130. It's still $80. So why would you want to bring in a big one? They're going to eat more grass, but you're going to have a lot better satisfied customer. The lamb chops on a 130-pound lamb. You know, that big a lamb. You bring in a 70-pound lamb, it's not like that. You know, so I think they taste better.
So the finish in the winter, the finish on stockpile, they're 12 months old.
That's when we process them around March, Easter. There's a really good bump in prices in the United States around Easter. About 2 weeks before. I mean, the sheep market is so volatile. It's crazy. I mean, it can be really good, and a month later, it's just boom. The meat. The breeding stock is not volatile. It seems to be pretty steady if you've got good stuff. Yeah.
Okay, those ones were banded, but the one that you recently.
Yeah.
5 minutes, Greg?
5 minutes, and we gotta go.
Greg, have you got any pictures of the fields where your pigs are?
Any pictures of the fields where the pigs are? Yeah. Got some. There's one. That's multi-species perimeter fence. That wire is 7 inches off the ground. That bottom one, 7 inches, 13, 19, and 32. There's 4 wires. I moved that from 6 to 7 now. There it is. That's 7, 13, 19, and 32. 7, 13, 19, and 32. The 32 is not for the sheep or the pigs. That's for the cattle. Those first 3, and that bottom one's ground wire. And it's not high. Okay? we found out that these are tight wires. That's 170,000 psi high tensile wire. And we try and keep between 6,000 and 8,000 volts. You use one of those good chargers like what he's got back there, those good Gallagher chargers. I think a lot of people make a mistake of not putting in a good enough ground system. Make sure you put plenty of ground rods on that dude. And put it on the north side of a building where there's moisture. Preferably under a gutter where there's water coming on that ground field. If your ground field gets too dry, animals touch your wire, they're not going to get shot. There's our water crossings. These are free oak pallets. And we sewed them. Yep. We took high tensile wire and we sewed them along a steel cable that's stretched from one creek to the other creek side. So when the water hits that, they go up. Those panels have been in there 10 years now. And it's a great way to stop the sheep and the cow, or the dogs. They won't go underneath that because they're afraid there may be a wire down there shot above them. There's existing barbed wire fence. I just put an offset on it. There's 2 wires. That's all there is. There's my tape gate. That's poly tape. All those are hot except for that bottom one. Okay, hot, hot, hot. And it's beautiful. I use those for cows too. I love those tape gates. There's the pigs and the rams together. There's some of the sheep. Landowners, I think they're always right. Okay? Concentrate on idle fields, the closer the better. Get the name of the recorder's deed. If you don't know who owns it, meet them, be honest. Tell them what you're about. Those are the things you need to have. Clean clothes, clean vehicle, a good firm handshake. If I shake this guy's hand, yeah, I want to work with him. Don't give me a limp fish handshake. I will thank you for your time. I'll turn around and get my vehicle and leave. Yep. What's that?
Back to guard dogs.
Yes.
If you're multi-species with the sheep, is it as important? Like if you're riding a sheep?
If you can bond the sheep onto the cows, it's not nearly as important. If the sheep will stay with the cows. Okay? You're going to lose some probably at the start. Because not all the sheep will bond onto the cows. But the ones that bond the cows, you're not going to lose those. Yep.
You sign leases when you rent a land?
Yes, I do a signed lease. That's the only thing I'll do. I will not do anything but a signed written lease. What's that?
How long would you sign the lease?
I won't sign a lease for less than 5 years, preferably 7. I've got a lifetime lease.
You have cash coffers down there you've got to compete against?
I don't. No, we're in rolling hills. Okay, if I had cash crop around me, I'd be dead.
In other words, the farms don't have any value. You can put them in.
Yep. Yep. If I had to compete with $150 cash rent, I can't do that. Not with grazing land. You don't have anything to offer the landowner. He's going to take that $150. Okay. So we're dealing with land that is very, very poor. Am I out of time? So yeah, that's huge. These are landowners. Those are his wife and his daughter. Those were our horses. We took them horseback riding that day. That's the best thing I could have done that day. Yes.
Back to the pigs, how do you feed them?
How do you feed the pigs?
And not have the cow or sheep feed?
We didn't feed the pigs. With the tamers, we didn't feed them anything. They just grazed whatever was out there. Extremely, extremely good meat. Super slow putting weight on. Took 2 years.
And you slaughter them at
250 pounds.
200. You feed a lot of fat on them.
Acorns. These are some of the things that we can offer the landowner. There's a 40-year idle dead thatch. And this is where all the big bucks are. It's unbelievable. Feel the dollar bills. Oh, this is a good one. This is a farm we got. I got a 10-year free lease on it. I brought in 80 cows. The landowner, the cattle owner bought all the hay for me. And 250 bales. And I unrolled them all over that farm on a Saturday and a Sunday. I unrolled every one of them. And the neighbors went by and they're freaking out. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm feeding hay. We can see that. I said, well, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm unrolling hay. Well, why are you unrolling all of it? I'm like, because I don't want to feed hay the rest of the month. So what we did is those cows went in, we started at the water point, we started strip grazing away from that water, and those cows would go and get that hay under the snow. They wasted about 30%. Landowners, make sure with this email stuff we have today, these smartphones, this is my best friend with landowners. I text them, I send them pictures all the time, updates, at least once a month, preferably every couple of weeks. Give it an update, what's going on out there? They're not on their farm, you are. You are the eyes and ears of their farm. They need their farm fixed. Their farm fixed. I just called one of my landlords from Dallas last night in the hotel room here in Canada. He appreciated that. I gave him a farm update. Turn them out in the spring, discover them in the fall. We call that the Columbus method. That's not going to work. Young people, this is one of our interns. Any of you guys want to come intern with us? Pest management is the key. There's some happy landowners. They're like family. This is a couple that saved my bacon. I was going broke. He came up in the first year after I had a 10-year lease. I wrote a 10-year lease on his farm. He came up to me after deer season, ripped it up, handed it to me. I'm like, what? I'd already worked on it for a year. He said, Greg, your lease isn't any good. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, well, it's not even good. My wife and I talked to him. He gave me a cured ham and a turkey. He gave me my grazing lease back, handed it to me in cash. And I'm like, what are you doing? He said, he gave me a lifetime lease. I'm like, what? A lifetime lease. I mean, I still didn't just talking about it. I had hair come up on the back of my neck. And to this day, I don't deer hunt with his kids. Because he put it in his lease. His kids can't sell that farm until I'm dead. So I'm not going to hunt with his kids. I don't want to be a casualty of deer. But they are retiring to Missouri. I preserved his dream. Him and her were going to sell that farm the year I leased it because they couldn't be up there anymore to look after it. They're in Dallas, making good money in Dallas. They're retiring up there now. They bought another farm. Looks right onto one of my others. It's got a house on it. That's where they're going to live. He wouldn't build a house on that farm because he didn't want to screw up our grazing. He said, Cindy, we're not going to build a house on this farm because of my life. Because I don't want to screw up Greg and Jan's lease. I don't want to screw up the grazing. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. Green Pastures Farm is our website for you all that haven't written that down. My second book called Comeback Farms is on there. The first one was No Risk Ranching. Comeback talks about a lot of what we're doing today. For those of you all that I've had people that ask me about this. I just want to give a plug on that. Folks, the leasing land thing is huge. It's here in Canada. I drove by land today. There's nothing being done with it. I don't know the history behind some of it, but I do know I would take it if I could get it. There's no fence on it. I did see some water, but you can work around the water issues. For whatever reason, there's land available here. I saw it by looking at it. So, go for it. Use some imagination. Thank you all.
Is Ruth Knight present? Would you come forward, please? What it would be nice to do today, Greg, is to figure out how we could stretch an hour longer than 60 minutes. It's going too fast. Come ahead, Ruth.